also went back to look at the video, and then I was thinking about all the moments when I was really stressed. I was trying to explain to my partner, because he was in the background, trying to explain to him what was happening. And so he thought, okay, is it gonna work, And then it's just funny just to think of that moment. He's standing there thinking, okay, something is wrong. I'm not sure what it is, but she seems to be figuring it out. So let's be supportive.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Weiss, and you're watching Workroom Social TV. In this episode of I Made My Wedding Outfit, I'm here today talking with Shanice. Shanice is a creative maker and YouTuber blogging at Blowham Street. She works full-time as a planner at a fabric production company, and in her free time, loves to indulge in her creative tendencies. Her current favorites are sewing, crochet, and drawing. Hi, Shanice. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm very excited to be here as well. Thanks for having me.
Shanice, I'm super excited to talk about your beautiful wedding dress today. Now, I understand that you actually moved up your wedding, I think about 6 months. I'm wondering how that played into your decision to sew your own dress.
Yeah, so actually that's a very big part of why I decided to sew my dress, because otherwise, you have a bit more time. You can go shopping, look around with people to make a decision. But then with everything changing, you have to think fast and be, quick thinking with, okay, what now? Plan A and B failed. So what now? So that was my final plan, especially since I could do a bit of sewing. So I thought, okay, let's try this. At least if it doesn't work out, then I have a bit of time for another plan, but at least the worst that could happen is that it looks bad. But there was the opportunity to try, so I just went for it, yeah.
So the change in date actually was the catalyst for your decision to make your dress. What was your original, had you thought about what you would do originally before you moved the wedding up?
Yeah, so initially, because I'm from Ghana, like so you mentioned that earlier, and we have a very specific way of going about weddings. So we have a very traditional Ghanaian wedding. And usually people like to wear fabric from Ghana, which is called kente. So I'd already propositioned somebody in Ghana to make it for me, and they were working on it. And then, 2020 decided to do its thing. So then I couldn't have that transferred to me here. So I had to come up with something. So basically, so that was actually my first plan, to have that dress made in that fabric to be sent to me, but that was not going to happen in the time that I needed it. So then I decided to make the dress. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Ghanaian weddings? How did your cultural tradition affect the dress that you ended up making?
Yeah, so that's quite funny. The traditional Ghanaian wedding is usually the family of the groom have to go to the house of the bride to ask for permission. And it's quite like a whole play or theater where they, with beautiful display of words, just to say, there's somebody here, we want to take her with us. And then the family would ask for bride price, which is part of the whole culture. And usually, like I mentioned, it's very colorful. So the kente that I mentioned is also a very colorful item. And you're supposed to bring with the bride price money and gifts. And one of the things that take part in the gifts is print fabric, which is very popular in a lot of West African countries, a lot of African countries, actually. So that's also part of the gift package. So I thought, well, since this is known and it's already part of it, I can use this. Plus, my husband is Caucasian. So I thought, okay, to add an element of it, so instead of going all super bright colors, I could use an element of that and also tone it down a bit so that it matches nicely with both of us. Otherwise, he would stand out, or I would be, like a peacock. And then he would be a bit more toned down. So I thought if I balance the colors a bit, then we can both look nice on the day.
And what did he think about this plan?
He absolutely loved it. So he absolutely loved it, because we are also both a bit relaxed with regards to how we go about a lot of things. So getting married is very stressful in itself. And considering the situation of 2020, it adds an extra layer. So we thought, okay, this is a nice project. We can try. For the most part, he was available. He was there while I was working on it, but he couldn't really see exactly what was going on. And we had already thought we wanted to have a YouTube channel. So we just thought, okay, this will be our starting phase. We just see what happens. So it was really, it was a special moment for both of us, actually, that I'm making the dress. He's kind of managing the lights and the video and everything. And then also deciding what's the best color, because he had a jacket that I wanted to use to make sure we kind of matched without being completely necessarily wearing the same thing. So he had to be involved in that as well.
How fun. Now, I think it's really interesting how you took your cultural tradition and you kept it as an element of your special day. However, you were kind of flexible and you adapted it for the unique situation that you were in where, COVID had an impact. You were marrying someone from a different culture. And I read on your blog post that some people had some maybe opinions about your decision to make your dress yourself. Do you want to talk about sort of like what these other people, I don't know if it's your family or your friends or whomever, what people thought and what did you think about that? How did that impact your decision and the process that you went through to make a very successful and beautiful dress?
No, thank you. Well, that's actually quite funny because it's a big deal getting married. So from all angles, there's so many people who are happy for you and they want the best. So it's not very, I'd say it's not the first thing that pops into someone's mind that you're going to make your own dress. They see immediately all the things that could go wrong. And that's where it's coming from. I think it's coming from a good place. But the perception, if I think I just want to try this, the immediate perception of or reaction of, no, it's going to fail. I'm not a very big fan of that. So there are some family and friends that I thought, okay, usually I don't always get like I may not get a positive response here. So I'll keep it on the down low. And then when it's done, or I'm very certain that it's looking great, I would show it. So a few people I remember I told my dad, and his first reaction was, go for it, try it. If it looks good, we see. So my dad was very, very positive about it. And then for others, I thought, okay, let's just hold on. I made some conscious decisions not to mention it to specific family and friends. And then just when everything is looking a lot better, I can let them see it just so that they can give input based on what they see now versus what they think it could be, because I knew my audience.
That's good. I think important life lesson there. Know your audience.
Yeah, you really should, because your family, friends, they want the best for you. So I know it's not like for malicious reasons and whatnot, but just knowing that it's something I want to try myself. I know I will face that kind of obstacle and I don't want to deal with it in that moment. That I think just try. They'll find out later. Worst thing is, we try something else.
So there's a really fun video on your YouTube video where you document the process of making your dress. The video is of you walking, I think, with your family into where your wedding guests are, and people just look so happy and joyous. Was that the first time that people were seeing your dress?
Yes.
And what was the response?
I think immediately in the video, you see everybody, kind of brighten up, first of all, because I walk in. And then also later on, especially when they realized that, because a lot of people there also had no idea that I had made it myself. So of course my partner knew and my parents knew, but the rest had no idea. So during the reception, when it was like mentioned, oh, your dress is nice, where is it from? I made it myself. Then it was like, whoa, are you serious? Why would you do that? And it looks very nice. So it was a very mixed reaction over there. Like first with the shock of, wow. And also that you would, do something so risky on your special day. But yeah.
And can you remember and talk about how you were feeling in that moment?
I was ecstatic. I was really happy that it worked out, because while I like to sew, I love doing it. It's also to some extent new for me. So I always try very simple and easy things. And this was very daring on my part. I must honestly say, to do this. But then I thought, because I'm very impatient. I start and I think I need to finish today. It's not feasible. So I had to put that in mind. So standing there in that moment in the dress, knowing it's worked out, it looks nice, and it's my special day, and I can actually wear this again. It was great. I felt really good.
That's so awesome. Well, talking more specifically about the sewing of the dress, I think it is so cool that you identify as sort of like a newer sewist, maybe a little bit less experienced than someone might think for you to try such an amazing project. Can you walk us through what was your process of, you've decided you're going to make the dress. How did you go about planning it? How did you go about fitting it? And then how did you tackle the actual making of it?
This was quite tricky for me because given the level I am with sewing, there are lots of things that I can do. So that's great. So that gave me confidence that, okay, I can try this. I have a couple of patterns at home that I'm usually just marveling at, okay, what can I try with this, blah, blah, blah. So that narrowed it down for me that, okay, I have a very formal looking garment that I could try. So I thought that was perfect because it had certain elements that I liked. So just going through my box of patterns, deciding, first of all, which one can I actually make, which one is a bit to my level, and which one also gives me, dares me a bit, challenges me a bit. So I'm not sure everybody will be comfortable with that for your wedding dress to say, oh, I'm going to try a sewing and it should challenge me a bit. So you have to decide that yourself. But for me, I thought, okay, a little bit of challenge, it's fine. And then having that, figuring out what the best fabric would be for this. So because it's a wedding and I wanted a bit of sparkle without it being overly out there, because I'm not also trying to do wedding gown in the conventional sense of it. In that sense, my partner had a jacket, which is what I used to choose my fabric. So he had the jacket that he wore was one that had the colors that I thought, okay, if he wears this, I can also get a fabric that has similar colors. So having the pattern, deducing what kind of fabric would be necessary for it with one that has like some kind of sparkling elements, and then bringing those two together. And then with making sure that the pattern especially has a lot of elements that I can actually do. Because if it's too challenging, a little bit of challenge, I wanted it, but if it was too challenging, it would really have failed. So I had to be honest with myself. And I also, especially because I mentioned that I'm not very patient when I'm sewing, because I think everything needs to happen so quickly. And I've faced so many times where that's not the reality. I also had to, condition myself that this will take a while. So if you really want to do this, you have to give yourself time. So basically, as soon as we made a decision I was going to make my dress, immediately I had to start working on it, because I had about 2 months between to make it. And I thought, okay, 2 months, it's enough. I can do a little bit every single day. So that's fine, but I need to make sure I'm working on it. And I actually gave myself a month to do it, so that if at the end of the month it was really bad, then I could maybe order something online or whatnot. But the planning in that sense was really essential. I had to be very honest with myself. What can you do? What can you not do? And what's possible given the current situation? So on the plus side, I work at a company that produces fabric. So I knew, I also see a lot of the fabric. So I knew exactly what fabric would match the jacket that I had, my partner was wearing. So that, I think it's fortunate for my part, just because I see it every day. So I knew exactly what fabric would be perfect, and it was just order, have it sent in, and then good to go.
So I noticed in your vlog of the making of the dress that you did something that I do when I sew my own clothes, but I'm not sure how many other people do this. You fit your dress as you sewed it. So as you sewed some seams, you would try it on, make some adjustments. And there was a part in particular where you realized that the fit wasn't quite as tight as you wanted around your waist and hips. Can you talk about what it was like to do that process of, you only have one cut of fabric, so you started working on it, but then you realized down the line you needed to make some changes. How did you approach that?
For starters, I figured that I may make a mistake somewhere, so I ordered extra fabric just to be safe. And this was just if I'm more advanced, I can be a bit more certain of myself in that sense. But so I had extra fabric if I made mistakes, and then during that process, when I realized, oh yeah, it doesn't fit outside, that was quite challenging for me, honestly, because I wasn't sure how I would make it fit better. So I went in to, adjust the sides to make it smaller. I realized it wasn't really, because it was two parts of the top part and the bottom part that were being put together. And my top part is smaller than my bottom part. So using the measurements from the pattern, it just wasn't, I couldn't really figure that out. So so that's one of the things that I think if somebody is going to look deep into my dress, they would probably think, Shanice, you could have been better here, here, and here. But in the end, I was able to adjust, taking into account that, yeah, if I take the top part in and leave the bottom part a bit more, that would work to suit what I was looking for. So that ended up involving a lot of doing, undoing. And I wouldn't have found it out if I wasn't trying that on often. So that was very tricky. So
I love that you brought up that the insides might look a little confusing, but it really doesn't matter because no one's looking in there and the outside looked beautiful. So good for you. I'm wondering now if you could tell me the story of, I understand there was a little mishap with the zipper of the dress. Can you tell us about what happened and how you fixed it? And most importantly, how you stayed calm through the entire thing?
That's quite funny because at that moment, it wasn't very calming at all. Because then I thought, oh no, so if I do not succeed with this, then I disappoint myself for starters. And for anyone who thought like, okay, Shanice, this is a bad idea, they win. It wasn't a competition, but that was something that was motivating me. And what I realized was that in making, because I was following the instructions on the pattern, and after this, I've looked up various ways other people go about it. And I realized that a lot of people usually would fit the zipper on the dress before they connect both parts. Now, my mistake was that I connected both the front and the back, and then I was trying to work on the zipper, and that made it difficult to put through the machine. I thought because it's a long dress, and because I'd also had a lot of issues with the sides, I didn't want to undo too much of it. Otherwise, you have all of the holes of the needle showing. So yeah, I thought, okay, the best option probably was via the shoulder. So that's what I ended up doing. And I had to be very careful and try to push the fabric through via the shoulders as much as I could. I would not recommend that to anyone who wants, because it was quite tedious and very stressful, because I thought it could very easily go wrong. I think in the end, the best thing would have been probably just to undo the sides and do what fix the zipper. But yeah, it's one of those things that you live and you learn.
So one of, I think, the neatest things about your project is that you have what many would refer to as an entry-level sewing machine. It's like your beginner sewing machine. And you used that very basic sewing machine to create this big gown. And not only create this beautiful big gown, but also like do the troubleshooting with the zipper and, all of these things. Do you have any thoughts or a philosophy heavy on like tools and equipment? What do you think about like, do you need a big fancy expensive sewing machine to create something beautiful? Do you think it doesn't matter? Tell me what you think about tools and your creativity.
Personally, I think, like I mentioned a bit before, you live and you learn, and you have to start from somewhere. So, I mean, I've loved sewing for a while. I was in the beginning using my hands to do it. And then I thought, okay, I can afford this machine at this point a couple of years ago. So I got it. And in the meantime, I was just using it for whatever I could. Yeah, I think for a lot of times, it's also technique versus your machine, because for a lot of things that people do, even with media, a lot of top YouTubers will tell you that they started, or they don't necessarily use a very fancy camera and whatnot. It's just, if you know what you're doing, the machine is just to aid you, basically. When you know more, you realize, then of course, you learn more. You think, okay, now I want to be able to do these other things, then it would be nicer to upgrade. But in the beginning, if you're just interested, starting, I think you can use whatever you have, because I personally do not have a lot of top-notch tools. I just use what I have, look up how to make things easier using my limited machine, basically, but it works. So if you're like really entry level and you can afford entry level stuff, I think just go for it. As you work on it, you realize what you actually need. And that's what's going to help you to make a decision on how to, upgrade if necessary, actually.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I'm wondering, going back to your dress, how do you think the fact that you made your dress and that you were wearing something that you made versus something that you bought on your wedding day, how do you think that changed the way you look back and feel about the day, or maybe how it influenced you the actual day of the wedding?
I think it added a very, very personal touch. So especially there was a lot going on at that time last year. So still making a decision, you want to get married. There's everybody wants to help you. Like, it's how do you make sure you have a moment for yourself, or a moment to look back on, when you can think, yeah, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this in the process of preparing for my wedding day and whatnot. So for me, being able to have that moment, working for like a month and a half on my own dress, every time I work on my project, I know this is for my special day. Even with everything going on, it's something nice to think about. It's something nice to have in the back of your mind. And I think afterwards, on that day, when I finally have it on, I think it really worked. So so it's confirmation. First of all, that's great. I got married in this beautiful dress that I made, and also confirmation to myself that just try stuff. It's like, you cannot really be that bad, which is, I think, for everybody. Sometimes you have these notions that maybe you're not so great at something, but then for a big event like this, I made my own dress, I wore it, it looked good, and I felt comfortable in it. Plus, I can look back every time I think about my wedding day that I actually put in a lot of effort for this. So it's encouraging and also heartwarming at the same time for me.
If you could go back in time, is there anything that you would have done differently?
With regards to the dress?
Yeah.
In the end, I had an addition to it that was not part of the original pattern, and that was a suggestion from my stepmother to make a belt with like pearls on it. I thought it was a very beautiful addition to it, because the problem that I had on the sides, it just took it away, and everything just looked very well fitted. And it would have been nice to involve more people in it. It sounds contrary to what I said before, because it would have been nice to involve people, because then they could share ideas and let you know how you can make it better. At the same time, I think if you do not know your audience, then it could also be your downfall. So maybe my approach maybe I may have a bit too quickly decided not to involve too many people. I could consider that my approach with regards to how I would inform them to make sure that I got the reaction that I wanted to proceed with my dress. Just so I could have those extra ideas to have made it better. So maybe the involvement of others would be something that I would do differently, but still very cautiously.
Yeah, the very curated involvement of others, perhaps.
Yes.
Well, one final question in regards to your wedding dress. Do you have any advice for inexperienced sewers at home to give a big project like this a try?
Yes, I would say have cheap fabric available. So everything is within reach. Maybe you don't want to try on a very beautiful, expensive fabric and mess it up. There's nothing wrong with having a test fabric. Try it on, see if what could have been easier, what could have, because that is the only way you're going to learn and get better at it. So if the fear is, oh, I'm going to mess it up, if you have a cheap fabric, if you mess it up, it's fine. You can rip it out, try again, and that's helps to build the confidence that you probably need to make a really big project. So that's what I would say.
Good advice. Do a test run. I love testing.
Yes.
Shanice, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of I Made My Wedding Outfit. Now, for everyone who's watching at home, I encourage you to head over to Shanice's YouTube channel where she goes through the entire process of making her wedding dress. And it's super fun to watch. So head over there. Shanice, before we go, is there anything you would like to tell our audience?
So I'm very happy to have been able to meet you all today, and I look forward to hearing more from you. Jennifer mentioned, my website is blohamstreet.com. My YouTube is the same, and my Instagram is bloham.street. So I hope to see you all there.
You can find links to all these sites in the description box below, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video. That's all we have for today. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Shanice.